If mess around and find out was a game, this would be it. Yharnam is a city. That's basically what would happen if Tim Burton and H.P. Lovecraft had a baby, and that baby was raised by wolves, on the steroids. And in this wonderful, very livable city, some scholars from Bergenworth College decide to go tomb raiding in the labyrinth of their college. At most, they were probably looking for ancient pottery or fossilized dinosaur poop, but they found something way cooler. God juice. Okay, no, that sounds wrong. God blood. To understand how it got there, we're gonna have to rewind the clock a bit. The labyrinth was built by an ancient civilization called Pthumerians, who were the first to come into contact with godlike, multi-dimensional beings called Great Ones. And the Pthumerians took one look at them and thought, well, they kinda. Before actually smacking that all on the floor. See, the Great Ones are so unique that each might as well be a different species, which means that they can't reproduce with each other. Some can reproduce asexually, but some require a surrogate. But that's where the Pthumerians come in. They pick the girl, crown her queen, and send her off to get pregnant, which is great if you have a monster king, but if you don't, well, it's called Bloodborne for a reason. Most of the pregnancies in this world are non-consensual. Apparently, the Great Ones long for children, and since they can't, they have to do something on their own. They'll use any means. The concept is referenced again and again throughout the game. The blood of the Great Ones was given to the queen so she could get jacked up enough to actually handle both the birth and the process for the birth. Because how else is this going to work? But like any good tragedy, pride came before the fall. The Pthumerians got a bit too big for their eldritch britches and started calling dibs on leadership roles. They also got a craving for the queen's blood. It did give them superhuman abilities and rapid healing, so understandable. But, after a while, they just couldn't take it anymore and ended up sucking her dry, killing the unborn Great One Mergu inside her. And of course, Cosmic Baby Daddy Odin was furious, so he goes full Old Testament on the Pthumerians, placing a curse on them. Now, the Old Blood got a new update. Superhuman abilities, rapid healing, and any furry's dream come true. One minor setback for humanity, one giant step forward for the furries. But this wasn't the cool Teen Wolf kind of thing. Overexposure and consumption of the blood would lead people to become a beast forever. The curse was cleverly named the Beastly Scourge. Most of the Great Ones then ascended onto higher planes of existence, leaving a few behind, while the Pthumerians ended up getting done in by the curse. Back to Bergenworth. After discovering the Great One's blood, the scholars bring it back to study it. Master Willem, the Dumbledore of Bergenworth, had an unhealthy obsession with eyes. Dude was collecting them like they were Pokemon cards. Willem believed that that was the only way for humans to ascend into godhood. Meanwhile, his protege Lawrence thought doing bloodshots were the fast track to godhood. It was between looking like a biblically accurate angel or something that belonged in the Witcher universe. During all of this, another Great One is spotted washed up ashore, so Willem sends his students to have a look-see. They find a very dead but very pregnant Great One, Kos. The hunters go Dexter of both Kos and the villagers who became mutated because of Kos. They do a bunch of experiments on the villagers. Dissections, organ harvestation, especially getting eyes for our boy Willem and every other human rights violation. They even dissect the corpse of Kos, during which they gain an umbilical cord and Kos is reunited with their baby. The hunters thought this was a win-win, but Kos didn't see it that way. She pulls a Thanos snap and yeets the hunters into a horrifying alternate realm. The Hunter's Nightmare. It's like if the Upside Down had a baby with the Matrix, but make it gorier. Back at Bergenworth, Lawrence, tired of Willem's boomer attitude, decides to start his own club with blackjack and blood ministration. And so the Healing Church was born, Yharnam's answer to both healthcare and cult activities. The Healing Church was split into 3 branches, each with a different purpose. You've got the Brainiacs, which is the choir, the Mystics, which is the School of Menses, and the Monster Hunters, which is the workshop. The choir was tasked with making contact with the Great Ones, and they actually succeeded. After many experimentations on willing and unwilling people, But we'll sweep that aside. They used the greatest chalice discovered in a labyrinth below Yarnum to gain an audience with the left-behind Great One Ebertus, who became their little blood bank. Using the blood of the Great Ones, the Healing Church made Yarnum into one of the hottest healing retreats. Be warned though, side effects may include enhanced healing, superhuman strength, and occasionally turning into a bloodthirsty beast. But hey, no pain, no gain, right? Now, you'd think after the first guy turned into a drooling beast with less than 2 brain cells, they'd pump the brakes. But no, these 5-head intellectuals were like, this is fine, we are fine, everything's fine. Spoiler alert, it was not fine. Since the main goal of the church had always been trying to speedrun Ascension, they couldn't stop using the blood, so they needed a new solution for the beasts. This is where the third subsection of the church comes in, the Workshop Hunters, headed by German. These hunters were tasked with hunting down everyone who succumbed to the blood and became a beast. Though German did have a creepy side hobby of making an absolute carbon copy of his favorite student Maria, which he placed in the Hunter's Dream. Maria was one of the hunters who participated in the game version of Japan's Unit 731. Long story short, since she's such a kind person, she can't bear seeing it happen and locks herself in the Astral Clock Tower. The hunters find her bloody and very much dead, but whether it's suicide or something else is unclear. And since things never settle down in Yarnum, the appearance of the pale blood moon speeds up the transformation process of the Scourge. There were too many to deal with, and as the hunters fell, the church founded a new order, the Healing Church Workshop, in its place. Everybody's so creative with the naming. The Church Hunter Workshop was led by Yarnum's very own Van Helsing, Ludwig, a clerk turned hunter. The hunters of the church came in 2 varieties, black and white. The black hunters took on the role of preventative medicine, which is a professional way to say if you even think about having the Scourge executed. Their presence in Upper Cathedral Ward was enough to make residents more afraid of the cure than the disease. White hunters, on the other hand, were the church's elite. These doctors approached the Scourge with a mindset more suited to mad scientists than healers. Their philosophy of exposing themselves to sickness in the name of research led to some interesting results, like the towering church giants. Because nothing says we've got this under control like creating monsters to fight other monsters. Ludwig, not content with just having a sword that could rival Guts's, decides to take beast hunting to the streets. He's out there every night, crossing the Great Bridge, commuting to the world's worst 9 to 5. So he thinks, why should I suffer alone? And starts recruiting ordinary civilians to join the hunt. The church provided these new recruits with hunter attire, stylish, but about as protective as workout gear in a zombie apocalypse. This strategy cleverly shifted the narrative from church versus people to us versus beasts, uniting the people against a common enemy while conveniently distracting from the church's role in creating said enemy. Deception 100. But the people of Yarnum had to take the blood to boost their stats to fight beasts, and over time, ended up becoming beasts themselves. It became a never-ending cycle. Hunter kills beasts, the hunter becomes a beast, gets skilled, new hunter steps up, rinses, and repeat. Meanwhile, Old Yarnum, connected to Central Yarnum by a bridge, had an epidemic. The medicine to treat the cure was about as effective as trying to argue with anti-vaxxers. So, people started turning to the church for the miracle cure blood. Now, some theories do state that the church might have created the problem just to swoop in and save the day, giving them even more power and influence. But regardless, this backfired, and the Scourge spread even faster. Seeing their oopsie-daisy play out, the church decides in their infinite wisdom that the best option was to peace out. So they block the bridge and just pretend it doesn't exist, hoping the sickness and the curse will burn away with the city, but life hardly ever goes the way you want. The Scourge still remained rampant in Yarnum, but the church did not give up. They had a new plan for recruiting hunters. Any outsider who had a scar declined had to take on a blood contract as a payment. The church would give the outsiders the old blood for free, and all they had to do in return was fight and kill beasts every day until they themselves would be taken over the Scourge and become a beast themselves. What an absolute deal. And this is how our character becomes a hunter and gets the most traumatic sleep paralysis dream ever. But the problem was, these hunters would eventually turn into beasts themselves. So, to deal with hunters who succumb to the scourge, there are hunters like Eileen, whose sole job is to find them and give them a dignified end. One by one, the healing church collapses as they were consumed by the very blood they thought would be their salvation. Even Lawrence himself ends up a grotesque flaming monster. Cooler than other monsters, but a monster nonetheless. And Ludwig, the first officially recognized hunter, also transformed into a horse-like beast trapped in the Hunter's Nightmare, an alternate realm that existed to punish blood-crazed hunters. The Hunter's Nightmare ends when the hunter slays the Orphan of Cos, which will free its spirit from the nightmare. This act encourages Great One Cos to end the Hunter's Nightmare. Meanwhile, back in Bergenworth, Master Willem is having an epiphany. Maybe it's the cosmic insight, or maybe it's just the fact that he's been staring at the lake for too long, but something's clicking in that eye-lined brain of his. He uses the umbilical cord of the Great One Cos on his student Rom, who also lines her brain with eyes to ascend her into a kin Great One. Not exactly human, not exactly Great One, but a fully messed up ugly monster for sure. But despite having barely 2 brain cells and no coordination, Rom does have the ability to hide the true nature of the world like a Genjutsu. Once Rom is killed, the illusion is broken and you are given access to an alternate realm. The Nightmare of Menaces taking place at the School of Menaces, which Mikolash headed. The School of Menaces got their hands on an umbilical cord of Murgo to contact Murgo, just like how Cos was able to curse the hunters from a higher plane. Murgo, being a Great One, was also alive, just in a different realm. But contacting Murgo led Mikolash and his colleagues to become essentially brain dead in the real world and trapped in the Nightmare realm as they went insane. After exterminating Murgo's wet nurse, the spirit of Queen Yarnum and Murgo are both freed from the Nightmare realm. After all of this, the hunter finally makes his way to the Hunter's Dream to see German's workshop in flames, signifying that the hunt was finally coming to an end. At this point, Bloodborne presents you with 3 endings: the good, the bad, and the worst. German is the host of the Great One, only known as the Moon's Presence, who created the Hunter's Dream. German offers to off you, executioner style, so you can escape the Hunter Dream and wake up in the real world. If you refuse German's offer and decide to kill him, you'll meet face to face with the Moon's Presence. After getting inappropriately touched by the cosmic being, you'll be enslaved, taking on German's role as the new caretaker of the Hunter's Dream. Now, if you're really big-brained, you'll unlock the 3rd ending. The hunter will consume 3 umbilical cords and pull an Uno reverse of the Moon's Presence, killing it. But not so fast. After killing the Moon's Presence, the hunter ascends to an infant Great One. What? Sounds cool, but does this slug look cool to you? But regardless, none of these endings are really good endings since you'll still be stuck in the cycle of the hunt. Choose the good ending and you'll end up with amnesia still continuing on the cycle. Option 2 makes you a lifeless puppet of some deity for eternity, and Option 3 turns you into the very thing you have been fighting against. Who knows if you'll have any humanity left in you to work together with humans. So, you either die a hero, or live long enough to become the very thing you hate.